if you like onions, you're going to like this. And even if you don't, you just might like these. Step into my office. Welcome back to My Man Cooks. Pickled onions. Don't think of them just for tacos. They can go on everything from burgers to sandwiches to salads. You name it. It's a versatile thing that I think everybody should have in their kitchen. And I'm going to show you how I like to do it. So what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be pickling some onions. I think everybody should have these in the refrigerator. So what we're going to be doing is we're not just going to be doing onion. We're going to be throwing in some jalapeno. We're going to be throwing in some garlic. We're going to be doing 4 different types of peppercorn, and we're also going to be doing some coriander. Now, measurements. It depends on your vessel. This is the jar that I'm going to be using to contain my pickled onions and other stuff. So you typically want about 75% vinegar to 25% water. If you don't like vinegar, find you a sour orange juice, because in the Yucatan Peninsula they actually use Seville oranges to pickle their onions. So pickled onions aren't just a Hispanic thing, they're everywhere. They're all over the world. So what I ended up doing was about 8 ounces of apple cider vinegar, a splash of red wine vinegar, and a splash of white wine vinegar, and added my water to get to the rest of the way. Now we want to completely submerge the onions in this. So what we're going to do is, this is essentially a brine. We are going to add some salt and we are going to add some sugar. About 2 tablespoons of sugar and about 1 tablespoon of salt. I'm going to show you how I prep the onion because I'm going to be using a mandolin. If you don't have a mandolin, you can still do it this way. You're just going to go another step further with the cutting board and the knife. So I'm cutting off the top, and then I will turn it on the flat part. And now, just a simple cut in half. Now I can peel my onion. This is ready for the mandolin. If you don't have a mandolin, which is good for real thin slices, get you some real thin slices of onion. Do the same with the other half, and it's ready for the mandolin. So our onions, we want them sliced thinly so that we can kind of like blanch them with the hot brine that we're going to be putting on them. So I'm opting for about 3 millimeters or like 1/8 of an inch. This mandolin lets me select basically the thickness of what I want. So what I'm going for, like I said, 3 millimeters, and it's just a simple use the guard. Don't take an unnecessary trip to the hospital with a chunk of your finger gone. I know from experience, except I didn't go to the hospital. So we just go back and forth. And we totally missed the plate, but that's okay. There's our 1/8 inch onions, and those are going to be for pickling. And there's the other half. Next is the jalapeno. So sometimes I like to char these and steam them basically to get some of the skin off of them. I don't have a gas stove and I don't have my grill set up yet, so I'm going to opt to not char it. That's fine, you don't have to, it's an unnecessary step, but it does add depth of flavor. So the way I do the jalapeno is cut the top of it off and I roll it. That way I can get the seeds out. Then I take a little paring knife, I go in, and I basically cut around the inside, go around the other way, And I can take the core of it out. Just make sure I get the rest of the seeds. I don't want those in there. A couple is fine, but I don't want to kill everybody. All right, and then we go back to the mandolin with this. Don't touch your eyeballs or your pee-pee. So now I am thinly slicing the garlic, and if I can get it like wafer thin, I'm going to do that. That's kind of the thickness. Well, as I throw it on the ground, that's the thickness that we're going for, kind of translucent in there. So I'm going to do that to the rest of the garlic. All right, so we are just tossing together our jalapeno, our garlic, and our onion so that it gets all mixed together, and that way we get even distribution when we put it into our vessel. So I'm just throwing them in our jar here. So as you can tell, I have more than what I'm going to be able to fit in here. So if you want, use half an onion. I had a rather large red onion, so you can use half. And then double your brine. So you have 2 jars, and you want to basically stuff it tight, pack it in there as tight as you can. So I'm going to add a little bit more, and I'll get another mason jar. So when you're doing this, your onions do not have to be this thin at all. You can opt for a thicker onion. Now, the other thing is, if you want to kind of dull the flavor out a little bit, you can use a little more water in your brine, or you can par blanch the onions, which is dip them in boiling water, take them out, and drain them and dry them, and put them in a cold water ice bath so that it kind of lessens the intensity of the onion flavor. You can do that. I'm opting not to because I like it just the way it is. I got a little cut on my thumb and I can feel it. So now we're back to our brine that we're using. So remember, I've got my 4 types of peppercorns and some coriander in here. That's going to go into our boiling brine. About a tablespoon of salt, depending on how much brine you have. I might not even use all of it. Use most of it. And then about 2 tablespoons of sugar as a sweetener. Now, because it's hot and it's boiling, it will be able to absorb more of the salt and the sugar. So you just want to whisk it while it's boiling so that everything gets dissolved. All right, so we have our hot brine. We got our jar of onions. Some's gonna drip, that's fine. We want to make sure we got enough in there to fully submerge. So I actually have enough to do both jars, and I'm going to show you a pro tip to make sure everything stays submerged. So if you want to make sure everything stays submerged, get you another lid that fits in there that you can push everything down. That way all your onions and everything stay submerged underneath the brine. So when you put your lids on and everything, it was just boiling liquid, so use a towel and everything like that, or use a, what is this called?
Pot holder.
Pot holder, there we go. Use a pot holder. So these are going to sit out until they come to room temperature, and we're going to come back in about 30 minutes, and we're going to show you what they look like after that, and then we're going to throw them in the fridge. In the magic of time, this is what we have now. So it's been a little more than 30 minutes, but you can see how pink everything's getting. That's part of the pickling process. This one is actually canned. So it'll make about 2 cans. We just had to push this one down a little bit, but I hope that tip works out for you. There's going to be a couple of things that we used in the video that's going to be down in the description. So our canning stuff's going to be in there, and the mandolin will be in there as well if you guys are interested in that kind of things. Thank you for coming into my kitchen. I appreciate you. And I'll see you in the next video.